Hi, everybody. My name is Zach Hatkin. I'm here with Kevin Bartlett. We're the co-founders of Cobia Holdings, and Kevin is a notable real estate agent in Southwest Florida, one of the top performing agents in Southwest Florida. We're talking about real estate here today, what's happening in the local market in Q3 2023. And thank you for joining us, Kevin. Could you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Hi guys, Kevin Bartlett here with Knowledge Base with Realty World and Estero. Just a little bit about me. I was born and raised in Southwest Florida. Jumped into real estate about 8 years ago, and I've grown since then. Looking forward to an exciting show with Zach here.
Very cool. And yeah, I'm Zach Katkin. I'm not a native, but almost. I moved down about 30 years ago now, and I started a number of businesses, including an ad agency in Estero while I was at FGCU. Sold that and basically have done real estate ever since in one way, shape, or form. Worked with a number of brokerages, as well as teams and Kevin himself. So, Kevin, can you talk a little bit about your business specifically, what you do, what you provide, what kind of real estate transactions you're involved in?
Yeah, so what we do is I'm specifically geared towards the Bonita Estero area, and then, just overriding due to what people like and what they want. Naples and Fort Myers area as well, with Cape Coral often too. But, we specialize in selling our lifestyle down in Southwest Florida, and we specialize in marketing our properties in luxury communities to the fullest extent possible. We reach out to different, states, different countries to bring our buyers, to our listings and to make sure our sellers have great communication throughout the whole process and have a great experience. So they were, send referrals from up north.
Gotcha. What is there a price range that you typically deal in, or number of bedrooms, that kind of thing? Like what size houses are we talking about generally?
Well, that's a loaded question. People always like to ask that, right? They think you have to sell $1 million house to sell another $1 million house, which really isn't the case down here. We have such a broad aspect of life and different types of people. A lot of people, they start with a condo, they move to a villa, they move to a single family house, and then they move to an estate home and a golf community. So we specialize in selling our lifestyle and golf communities around our Southwest Florida region.
Gotcha. And how many? You said you've been in the business for 8 years. How many transactions have you done? How many? What's the volume you've done overall?
Uh, Sales volume, I've done around probably nearing $400 million in sales volume, which translates to about 1,100 deals and
Awesome.
transactions in the business. As we're coming into a bad market, and stuff's not selling like it did when the COVID craze happened, you got to have a very knowledgeable agent to navigate through the process, and one that knows how to be creative and problem solve, basically.
Gotcha. Awesome. Well, and one thing I did want to, take a moment to explain as well is that so at the beginning of this year, just after Hurricane Ian, we decided to found Cobia Holdings. And so what Cobia Holdings is ultimately, I'd like to think of us as a solutions company, where maybe an individual doesn't know what to do with their real estate. In the case of what happened with Ian, homes were damaged. How do do I repair it? Do I try to sell it, et cetera, et cetera? So Cobia, what we concentrate on is so wholesale real estate. So buying properties and then fixing and flipping them, or fixing them and renting them out for cash flow purposes. And I think that's relevant. We're kind of coming at this from two different angles. You from the real estate sales side, and then together, I'd say probably us both as far as the wholesale side for the rest of this discussion as we talk about, what's going on in the real estate market overall. So can you speak to, I think the big thing that I've certainly noticed, I mean, I think this was evident to anybody that was paying attention. Like what happened with the pandemic and Florida real estate? Can you go into some detail about that?
Well, Uh, Besides everyone going crazy because they had to go ahead and get down to Southwest Florida or any part of the country that still was open during the lockdown. I remember walking into my ex-girlfriend's house during, the first shutdown, and was wearing a really nice, suit, dressed up, about to hit my last appointment of the day, and I had to stop by her house and grab something that I forgot. And I remember getting one call, two calls, five calls, 10 calls of people canceling their contracts. And it was right around the end of May, right after my birthday. My birthday's March 21st. And people were just saying, we want to cancel our contracts. We don't want to buy. We're done. COVID, we don't know what this is going to do. We think we're going to go into a third world war. And we're too concerned that, we're going to lose all our money or we're going to lose our jobs.
Mhm.
And I lost about 18 contracts that day.
Oh, wow.
And knowing how hard it took me to finally, that was my time where I've really been doing this for about 5 years at that point. I felt like an agent. I felt like I was, doing something every single day. Not just calling people randomly and trying to get their business and earn their business.
Hmm.
But, that day really taught me, the swings and what could happen. But, there were two people that stayed in contract and, they ended up making a ton of money because they kept their contracts and they bought at the bottom. They, a week later, stuff was starting to move. 2 weeks later, there were feeding frenzies of everything. 3 weeks later, the market was just out of control at that point. And for
Wait,
2.5 solid years, the market just continued to go to roaring.
gotcha. So it took about 3 weeks or a month between it totally bottoming out, people being deathly afraid, to all of a sudden the mass migration that happened, exploded the amount of deals that were taking place and the amount of homes that were being sold.
Yeah, correct. And, the big thing for a lot of this was we had a lot of people come into town and not realize what was going on. And, but all they cared about, we want to get out of where we're at right now. We're tired of being locked down.
Hmm.
We don't like our governor. We don't like our political state. Every, we can't enjoy our life. We see Florida, people are still boating. People are still going to pick up, to go margaritas, to go food. And you still could do some stuff, but it wasn't like you could do everything and live a normal life still. But we had a lot more freedom compared to other people.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and I think, it's something that we're blessed in Southwest Florida. Obviously, I was here for that as well. We were one of the least locked down areas in the whole country. Um, and I thought that was amazing. Where do you think people were, or where have you seen people were coming from?
Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, New York, New Jersey. New York and New Jersey got hit really hard. A lot of people just they didn't want to be in the city anymore. I mean, Miami exploded. It became the new Wall Street. VC funds charged down here. Everyone, every state came, but a lot of them were just, random states even. But big ones would be California, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, Ohio.
Gotcha. Um, and I found a little graph. I'm gonna probably pull some stuff up later on. But these were the kind of a cumulative index of what happened, and you can see how much we exploded. What I found interesting is, and all the numbers I've looked at, is that from what I can tell, that we grew both nationwide as well as specifically, obviously, Florida and some other areas like Texas, but Florida really more than anybody else, faster than we did during the great, housing boom and bust of 2006, 7, 8. I find that incredible, and you can see we outpaced as quickly as people moved. and inventory changed hands in the U.S., Florida outpaced that with this light green line that you have here on the screen. Gotcha. So let me do back here. So, well, then, like now, obviously, the pandemic essentially came to a close. Weirdly enough, around a year and a half ago, sort of, or it started to. Um, what have you seen since the pandemic? Really, I'd say the last 2 years. Like, what was 2022 like? What has 2023 been like? And maybe we'll talk about where you see things heading. I know that's a huge question.
Well, that's a good question. And if I had my crystal ball, I probably would win the Powerball tonight, and you would never ever hear from me ever again. But
Right.
the things I can comment on, the past 2 years, 2022 prices hit, the top, the ceiling, and now they're falling down because we have these interest rate hikes that won't stop. You have a government that, is trying to curb inflation right now. And what does that do to all, basically the 300 and $400,000 homes are crushed right now because those are the people that, paying 8% really hurts.
Hmm.
Um, Luckily, in a market like we're in, you mostly deal with second homes, cash, uh, financing, not contingent on closing the property. It's just, kind of secondary money. But right now, what saved us last year was Hurricane Ian. Hurricane Ian recharged the whole marketplace, and it really disrupted what they were trying to do locally, in my opinion, because you brought in a lot of investors, you brought a lot of big companies that came in and started to buy rehab properties. They came in and they're dropping $50 million on just land, and a lot of new construction is going to be built during this time. So we won't see the real factors come in until 5 to 7 years down the road. But 2022, if we didn't have Hurricane Ian, definitely we would be in a worse state right now. You
Gotcha.
know,
Yeah.
so we're seeing prices. I just sold a house that I had under contract exactly 1 year ago, and the house was under contract for 615 last year. This year we're under contract for 537
Gotcha. Right.
after they remodeled because it did flood. But it goes to show you we're 12% down. The market's not bearing what it has in the past 2 years. So, you
Do
know,
do you see that number 12% or 15%? What is there a number that generally you've seen, year over year? Here's where we're at.
we're about, I would say, 11% down overall. Some communities are down a lot more. Others are staying the same. It just depends on what kind of local marketplace you have for each community,
Yeah.
and that's the big thing.
Do you find that because I was talking to a buddy of mine, and he was curious if the larger homes, let's say $1 million and up, are those generally more insulated from this price dipping, or is it basically all over the place? Literally, it's a case by case basis where this particular community could be next to another one, but because of certain amenities, it's just not changing or is even going up. Do you see any patterns, basically?
No, it's lock, stock, and barrel. It's all luck. Certain communities that are newer, of course, that don't need updating, you know, uh, those are the ones that you see doing well still.
Mhm.
Big issue is if you have an updated house in, say, a farm community that I really like to do business in, like Bonita Bay or Pelican Landing. Those communities have always been older. You're selling multi different products over there, and they're up still. But if the house isn't updated, or if people deem that they feel like, eh, you know, we could go buy new over this and spend $1 million more for single family, of course, they're going to do that because they don't want to deal with it.
Gotcha. Okay. We talked a little bit about Hurricane Ian. Can you go into more detail on that? And Idalia, if that affected anybody in the area as well? Like what changes do you see coming? Well, what changes did it lead to? Obviously, right away, and then, and I think there's some things we could speak to as far as the kind of the wholesale side of things. But and what do you see longer term with that?
Well, I think a lot of people that bought hurricane damaged properties and didn't sell it right now, they're in a world of hurt because they're going to try and get these astronomical amounts of money, and it's not going to happen. That's
Gotcha.
the issue. And, people have to be realistic of what's going on. We're not in a hyperinflated market with fires. That I think that changes around here in the next 5, 6 months when we get back into season. But I bought 3 hurricane flooded houses that we turned into Airbnbs with a couple partners. And I always told my buyers, no, it's a 100-year storm. I've lived here my whole life. What could possibly happen? Well, we got a little bit of water in one of the Airbnbs that we had, and we had a big scare. So what do you think that's going to do to the market? If you rebuilt the house and it flooded, you claim your insurance again, and you probably move far, far away.
Right, right.
But you know, it depends on where you're at, how high of an elevation you had, and what type of price point you were at. But I think a lot of people are going to stay away from the coast unless they rebuild to proper standards, because it's just a hassle to move all your stuff out to deal with being flooded. And I think ultimately no one wants to deal with that, and especially someone that lives on the water and it's a second home. They want to come down and they want to enjoy, so they would rather tear down and build new or
Gotcha.
relocate.
Right. Gotcha. Where do you see people relocating to?
East to 75, east to 41, new construction, stuff away from the water, not in a flood zone.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Can you speak to that actually? Any of the I know DeSantis came under fire with some of his supposed reforms, and we've worked on a couple of projects where it was difficult for people to get flood insurance. What's going on in that market?
You can get flood insurance. The government backs it.
Have
And
prices gone up?
of course,
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
and they got to make their money back. It's a business.
Right.
But you have Citizens, which I'm insured through, right? And Citizens will insure me for a reasonable amount of money, right?
Hmm.
But if there's a hurricane, even if I'm not damaged, I still have to pay a deductible of 17.5.
Oh wow, really? I didn't know. Even if you're not damaged.
That's right. Everyone that takes Citizens insurance will be. It's like 1750. It's not 17,500. It's 1750
Wow.
per person. But it's they're insuring and they're reinsuring because you lose money down in this state. That's why no one wants to insure down.
Right, right. Gotcha. Um, going back to something you said a minute ago. So basically, is this the trend that you've seen? Weirdly enough, when COVID first hit, all transactions stopped. But then obviously, as we saw with the graph, prices and transactions just skyrocketed. Then it slowed down. That slowing down was what, right around when Hurricane Ian happened?
Correct.
And so basically, there's some people that either just bought in 2022, and then the Ian hits, floods their home, and now they're thinking about, okay, again, with Adalia hitting and having some flooding, maybe this isn't the right home for me if I'm too close to the coast. Let me move inland. But they're finding that prices are about 11% down. Is that
Yeah,
a good
roughly, yeah.
summary? Okay,
Mhm.
gotcha. Because that's one thing that you and I have talked about that we've seen a lot, where people are interested in selling their homes for one reason or other, but there's just no, you have, I think, ingrained interests locally, organizations, groups that all they want to do is tout the positives of the real estate market. But at the end of the day, we live in reality. People have to buy and sell homes at a particular price. There's a market for this. And what we're seeing is that people are reluctant to sell homes they just bought a year ago if they're going to have to take 11% haircut.
Well, of course. Would you want to do that?
Right. No, absolutely not.
And
But
I think a lot of this has to do with, you know, touching briefly on this point. we had a few of the stock market, the crypto market, anything that you could put your money into, it went up. And you got a lot of people that came out with a ton more money than what they should have. And COVID fueled something because it pushed everyone down here.
Yeah.
Now everything's back open up north. Stocks went down, cryptos went down, interest rates went up. And going into interest rates and where do I think prices will be in the next 6 to 18 months? I think prices are going to be at the same or higher in the next 6 to 18 months, just because the Fed is going to drop interest rates after one more hike. And we've already reached a near 8% rate. So if we go up to 8.5, nothing changes. You're still paying a lot of money.
You really think that though? That I mean, I think the fact that obviously so much in real estate follows interest rates, but that interest rates are going to be dropping.
Yeah, I do.
Gotcha.
Okay. I think next year someone is going to try to use it as a political influence.
Yeah.
It's just, it is what it is. But my thing is, prices probably are going to do 3 to 5% yearly increases, like what's normal in Florida. And, you're not going to make 20% per year anymore. That's going to be the big thing. My thing about, I just bought a new house, right? And I have a 6.5% interest rate. My first house I bought 3 years ago to move into, my interest rate was 2.75%. My total payment was $1,300. My total payment is $4,500 now for $100,000 more. If I still had my first house, do you think I would have moved?
Right.
And I think, that's where interest rates and pricing is going to get really tricky, because if interest rates go back down to 5.5%, it's going to start a feeding frenzy of buyers again, because they're going to want to get in before they hike rates up again mentally, because rent's not really dropping around here. It's just kind of staying the same. With that, people just can't comprehend selling their house with a 3% rate, even though they have a ton of equity in it, and going to a new house to pay more per month.
Gotcha. Right. And that does make a lot of sense. Even if they're able to pull out that equity, it's basically from their perspective getting drained much more quickly, and they're paying way higher for the, something similar or, around the same price range. So
That's
it
right.
does
What
make a lot
about
of
you?
sense.
What do you
What?
think?
Right. I think rates are going to continue to go up. I think they for multiple reasons. In fact, I can share my screen again. Let's provide a counter argument. I think this graph is fascinating. I found this on the census.
So, in not to interrupt you, in 2024, October 1st, if rates are down, what are we going to put a wager on this for?
We'll do $100.
All right, $100.
Okay. All
We'll
right.
go.
Yeah. A year from now. That sounds good. But I found this graph fascinating. It's not exactly what we were talking about previously, but you can see where people migrated to, and you can see even in New York, New Jersey, people even moved to more rural areas of New York, New Jersey, in the Northeast. This kind of speaks to something we were saying, but maybe we can get back to that and talk about rent specifically. But Jamie Dimon. So this was a couple days ago. Yeah, 2 days ago. World may not be prepared for Fed at 7%. Right. So Jamie's calling for 7%. Now, obviously, he lies all the time, and they do head fakes to get the market to do one thing, and then they move in a different direction. So that's something to consider. But also, Powell said something similar. And a strong or a high rate means a strong dollar. Puts pressure on the world. There's a lot of geopolitical stuff happening, and unfortunately affects everybody. But so yeah, I mean the economy still clearly we're in a recession. I don't think anybody would actually deny that at this point. You look at inflation, you look at the cost of goods, you go to any fast food place, restaurant, the grocery store, everything is super expensive. But I think there's more pain to be wrung out of the average person, unfortunately, and that's what they're going to be doing. So I think the rates are going to creep up, and things are going to continue to slow down. With there's kind of a larger thesis or plan there, but that's my prediction.
All right. Well, when I take $100 next year,
Right. So do you think, I'm curious, do you think yeah, that's good. I mean, the one thing I haven't really factored into this is it being an election year and how right before, the 6 months, 3 months before, rates drop, gas prices drop, et cetera, to help, sway public opinion in different directions. Is that basically the crux of your argument?
correct. Yep.
Gotcha. All right. Yeah, that does make sense. But I still think I think there's more pain to be had. I mean, I don't I see a continued slowing of the market personally.
No pain, no gain, right?
Right, exactly. So, and an interesting thing that you noted that I did do some research on, kind of a separate topic, but the basically rent's becoming a gigantic business, and a lot of the major investors for conventional commercial real estate and office supply is going into just regular residential rentals, which I find fascinating. So, and they're investing all over the country. So one thing that we've talked about a bit is how weird this market is right now. There's very low inventory. People do want to sell, but they're confused about the price drop that's happened. So we've come to the conclusion that this is one of the rarest market opportunities where it's both a good time to buy and sell.
Mm-hmm.
Can you speak to that a little bit?
With it being a good time to sell?
Well, both buy and sell. So if you were a buyer, why is it a good time to buy in Southwest Florida? If you're a seller, why is it a good time to sell?
Oh, well, here's, you know, the one and only. Selling right now, you're going to pull all the opportunity costs out. You might sell for a little bit less than what you could have a year ago, but you can never time the market. So you're still getting out ahead. Um, and you can also probably wait. If you sell right now, you can wait out the market and create a, you know, either go back to your primary home. You can move locally in Southwest Florida, upsize or downsize. But most people are going to take chips off their table, and most likely downsize if they stay. But people are still selling houses. They're still selling them for 100 times more than what they were before COVID. And you never know where the market's going to go. So I mean that's all the consideration itself. If you're buying down here, you're going to pay absurd amounts of rent. You're never going to be able to, you know, come back and, you can always refinance. So if you like the house and you're going to stay there a long time, I don't really see the big point of overpaying because everything in real estate always goes up in value over time. So as long as you have a good agent and you're smart, that's really what you need to do more than anything is just have an agent that really cares and wants to work with you for your whole entire purchasing career, in my opinion, because they won't sell you something that they don't have faith in.
Gotcha. Okay. How much, if you had to estimate between pre-COVID and then at the absolute boom of Q4 2022, what do you think the average home price was up to, like percent wise? Like it grew from 200 to 300, so it increased 50%, or
Oh,
what?
it's 400 plus thousand. That's why our conforming loan limit went up nearly $100,000. just to stay, be able to make sure people could still buy in Collier County specifically.
Hmm.
But I bet you're into the fours. It had to double.
Gotcha. So the price increase was around 100% from, you
Oh,
know,
130%, I would bet.
gotcha. Okay. One quick graph I found that I thought you might find interesting is this one here. I couldn't believe, and it basically tells the tale that we've talked to many homeowners over the last couple of months that are in this exact scenario, especially if they're in a condo.
Mm-hmm.
And this was for Lee and Collier County. Actually, I think this was specific to Lee County. And the obviously this is an average, but if you look at especially this green or teal graph, we had a huge spike towards the end of 2022, and now we're in August of this year. The latest data that they had, it's down 58% there, the sale price. And that's, over the last 12 months. Now, this is an average, so maybe people in a particular community that were affected by a hurricane or something liquidated, and so that skews the numbers to some extent. But I just think that's I don't know, astronomical.
I would agree. I mean, I specialize in Bonita Estero, right?
Hmm.
And the communities I like are Wild Blue, Esplanade Lake Club, Miramar Lakes, Pelican Landing, and Bonita Bay. Shadowwood, sometimes depending on the client, but it's crazy. So many people go to Pelican Landing, to Bonita Bay, to Wild Blue, to Esplanade Lake Club, and to Miramar Lakes to shop around to see which community fits their lifestyle the best.
Hmm.
And ultimately, those values you're showing me, a house in Wild Blue, I could kick myself for. I should have bought four from Lennar when they dropped the prices from 700,000 to 550 for Somerville twos on the big lake, because those houses are now selling for $1.2 million. The big boys in Wild Blue, they were selling for 700. Now they're selling for 1.7.
Hmm.
In Esplanade Lake Club, they were selling, 850. Now those are $2 million. Miramar Lakes, it was 1,600,000. Now it's 3.2. Everything there, Bonita Bay included, everything just doubled without an inkling. And people just, they saw their home values go up and they were out. They
Gotcha.
thought we were hitting the top, and that was it.
Yeah. Uh, eh, um, I wonder if can you detail like Bonita Bay? What do you see in Bonita Bay? What do you like about Bonita Bay? What are transactions doing in there right now?
They're doing pretty well, but they're stacking up on inventory again. I just sold a high rise in there for 2.2. We got a fantastic deal. It was worth 2.6,
Hmm.
but the guy needed to sell because he bought new construction in there. Um, but ultimately, I mean, stuff's closing within 97% of list price in there if you're priced right. I love Bonita Bay because it has the marina access directly inside. You can join golf, you can join the beach club, and then it has the beach shuttle as well. Pelican Landing, I like because the golf course, the colony connects to it if you want a little newer and more modern. But without a doubt, the ferry that you get with Pelican Landing specifically is the best. Just
Hmm.
you can't beat that. Wild Blue and Esplanade Lake Club, they're resort style boating communities, and that's Miramar Lakes as well. But Miramar Lakes takes the cake because the sandy beaches and the huge sprawling amenity center. But they all three shared the common thing: boating, tiki bars, and lifestyle. The three
Hmm.
things people want when they come into.
When you say boating, especially, I was I kind of knew this with Miramar Lakes, but I didn't understand this with Wild Blue. What do you mean by boating or boating lifestyle within those communities?
Well, I mean, it's like a wannabe lake to in New Hampshire, or a lake in Alabama or Georgia. We just have alligators, so that's the one thing that people have to get used to. But you're able to put in a little boat up to 28 foot, ride around. and enjoy the Florida lifestyle and boat up to your clubhouse and, get off to have dinner, drinks, and then boat back to your house.
Oh, that's great. I really did. I had no idea that Wild Blue had that you could boat inside the community in the lakes in the community. That's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
so Wild Blue, right? You have houses from 500,000 to $6 million now
Hmm.
because it's stock built on the island in there, WCI, and stock built on the bigger lake on the Wild Blue side, Lennar built on Vista Blue, and then Pulte built on the other bigger, smaller lake. They don't allow jet skis on Pulte's lake, and then they built off water as well.
Gotcha.
Esplanade Lake Club is Pulte Villas, 124 of them, and Taylor Morrison product, and there were about 30 homes by Seagate Construction, super high end, very beautiful. Those are all sold out, of course, because those are the first things to go. And then Miramar Lakes, they have one little section left, which is going to be high rises, and then the San Marino new townhomes that are coming up. But that's pretty much it.
Gotcha. Very cool. All right. Well, I think that about wraps everything up. Unless there's anything else that you wanted to talk about or communicate.
No, I mean, if people are interested in learning more about me, uh, they can visit my website at knowledgebasefl.com and learn a little bit about myself.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Kevin. It was great talking to you, and we'll see who owes who $100 a year from now.
Sounds good.
All right. Take care, man.
Have a nice day.
You too. Bye.